I remember when I was a medical student, learning the history and physical examination, I watched a cardiologist take an examination, and half of that information seemed irrelevant. It was flying by. And when he then summarized his interview, he had grasped all those details and they were in his summary. And I thought, wow, he was really listening to that patient. And that impressed me. I think that's what we have to strive for. Osler said that if you want to make the diagnosis, listen to your patients. And I think that when I'm talking to patients, I have to really listen. And that means shut down what I'm thinking in my mind, look them in the eye, hold the look, really lock into what they're saying. And that process of actively listening is a skill.
So, with empathy, it's right. I think of it as being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and imagine what it's like. There's some things that become kind of second nature because it's rinse, wash, repeat. You keep doing the same thing over again. I think it was actually a patient of mine who afterwards pointed out, she's like, "Did you even know I was an ICU nurse for 20 years?" I'm like, "I didn't. That never came up." I was like, "This is a privilege to have this job." The patients aren't just a number. So how do you kind of take pause and absorb the interactions that you're privileged to have, because there's always something else waiting for the next patient, the next surgery, all that. And so the one thing that I've kind of just gotten in the habit of doing just in the last few years is saying, what kind of work do you do? And just give it that open-ended invitation to get to know the person as an individual.
Being empathetic is, I think, by nature part of the job. And we're surgeons and we use surgery to help fix people and help fix things, but at the same time, you get scientists who are really interested in the disease and the science and the biology of what's happening on a cellular level, who kind of have to learn the empathy part as they go along. And then on the other hand, you get, humanists and people who are going into it because they're really interested in the stories and helping people, and they might not, know so much about the science, but as they go along, they have to learn the science. So that's part of the beauty of medicine, is it's both.
The patient in front of me needs my full attention. These less critical things that, although they're taking up, they're in my consciousness, and I'm worrying and fretting about them because there's something that then I have to do after this conversation, that can wait. But as of this moment, the patient in front of me needs to hear what I have to say, and they need it with my full attention.
Empathy is an active process. You don't just show up and slide into empathy. You have to stop what you're thinking, hear what is being told to you, and put yourself into somebody else's situation, and that takes real effort and engagement. You can't just arrive there. You have to force yourself into those shoes.
And there's a huge difference between empathy and sympathy, right? Like, sympathy is easy, like to say, "I'm sorry that your mom has a brain tumor, that's really hard." Like, if I just say it like that, that's easy. I'm just kind of saying the words. Empathy, on the other hand, right, it's like, it's trying to bring my shared experiences to relate to theirs. And to show like true empathy, you have to feel it. Hopefully your kind of like internal well is big enough to give it to other people, just because you're gonna be drained after a lot of that.
Sometimes even the 5 minutes before we run to our daily crazy routine of 14 hours, if we are able to just pull a stool and sit down with our patient and just say, it's gonna be okay, and if it's not, we will just go through this together.
People come to you in crisis, people come to you on the edge of death, and you get to step in and save life.
It is a super intense profession, but the same life skills, the same kindergarten rules still pertain, you know, like the do unto others, having empathy and trying to see the world from other people's perspective. It's all there, and it's all just as important here as it is in other aspects of life. And I think that the people who kind of bring that into work can also bring that hopefully into the other aspects of their life and be happy and successful in both domains. I think people need to be careful not to use up all of that, all of their empathy in the hospital, and then not be empathetic when they come home with their family members who have not seen them all day and want to spend time with them, and they need to understand that.
This life we lead is so rich, and it's really important to live in that moment and absorb it all. Sometimes you just get pulled in so many different directions that you don't dive deeply enough in each moment that comes. But when you do, when you savor those really great cases, or savor that bedside conversation with the family, or savor the relief when you finally get home at the end of that case, those are great moments. And it's easy to just feel tired, where you could also just dive into each moment and cherish it.
It's not natural to, at the end of a long day, put yourself in someone else's shoes, just because that's hard to do. That takes energy, right? Just because to connect with them, I think you are, giving them a little piece of yourself.
I think it would be easy to kind of turn that all the way off and kind of completely numb up. That's the easier path, and I think that it's active work to recenter and refocus and make sure that you're seeing these people as human beings, because you're just exposed to so much tough stuff all day. If you can clam up, and it's not hard to do, and I think it's what we owe our patients to do the work to not become cold.
Sometimes it can be that there is family members or patients just screaming at you or acting up, or they go through their own emotions, and all you simply have to do is absorb without taking it personally, and understand that what they are feeling is much more profound than anything that they could be projecting onto you. And sometimes those silent traits of empathy can be much more meaningful to them than we realize.
Whenever I have an angry or frustrated patient, it means that something hasn't gone well. There's been some disappointment or some expectation that's been not met. And I find that those are the moments where I have to dig in deepest. I have to overcome my human reaction to step back and avoid, and then counter that with stepping forward and doing more, because that's really what the patient is telling you. That's really what they're crying for, is more attention and more investment of my time and energy.
Just seeing someone in an environment where they feel quite vulnerable and they're honestly quite scared.
I wish I could take your pain away, but right now we are going to focus on what I can offer. And as we go through this, sure, there will be ups and downs, but I will do my best to walk you through that, and we'll find the support and resources you need to make sure that you don't feel alone in this process.
Patients often say that, I remember the first person who came in and they told me this, and then the rest of that is a blur. Maybe they've been waiting in the ED for 14 hours and you're the first one who comes by. You may think you know everything, or you know exactly what's going on, and this is routine and you've done this 100 times, but for them it's their first time.
We deal with patients who are in the middle of a huge tragedy in their lives. It's more about how can you bond with them and give them confidence in you as the surgeon and take them through this commitment to go forward. There was a patient this week had to make a decision whether or not to take out a spinal cord AVM, high cervical spinal cord that could leave him paralyzed, or decide not to and wait. To be lying in a bed, to be trying to make that decision, it's unimaginable. And I don't know how the script goes.
Why are we all here? Why did I go to school to do all this? It's for the actual benefit of the patient.
There's just so much uncertainty in what we do that you have to just be willing to go out and let the script come to you.
It's all about the patient. The caring, the commitment to our patients, the courage to be their guide through this moment in their lives, I think is what keeps me going.
You just have to live in the moment and go for the ride.